We should audit the whole government, and they should quit auditing us.
Ron Paul isn't one to shy away from an unpopular stance. For years, despite having little support from his congressional colleagues, this Texan stuck to his guns. But after decades of serving as a U.S. representative and 3 unsuccessful presidential runs, Dr. Paul finally parted ways with a Congress he says he was never really a part of.
I've never felt like I was on the inside is the one thing.
Far from the decadent walls of Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., Dr. Paul now does his business out of this much smaller, much simpler office in Clute, Texas. And though the scenery has changed, the message is still the same.
Essentially, since 1974, when I first got involved in politics, it's always been the same thing, different vehicles, and that for me has been to argue the case for limited government and individual liberty and a goal of having peace and prosperity.
Today, instead of haggling with other lawmakers, he is now appealing directly to his supporters with the Ron Paul Channel, an online weekly broadcast run out of his studio.
This came about by some people approaching me actually from California, and they seemed to know about you know, how the internet was working a lot better than I did, and they knew what my Facebook was doing and thought there would be a market for that. And I said, well, what am I going to do? I don't know anything about all this technology. You don't have to. Just keep talking about what you've been talking about, and we'll try to get that information out for you.
And talking is exactly what he's good at. He still travels the country to speak, writes columns, and appears on various news programs. So what keeps this 78-year-old going?
If I had to go home and relax and just sit there, I'd be twiddling my thumbs, and I could find something to read, but then I would have to write, and then I would want to speak out and this sort of thing. So my relaxation comes from staying very much involved.
Do you miss it?
What, Washington?
Yeah.
No, people ask me, you know, what is it good about not being in Congress anymore? And I say it's not going back and forth. So no, I do not miss it.
He might not miss it, but he certainly helped change the role libertarians play in it. Whether the Ron Paul revolution can continue without its leader in Congress is something for the history books to decide. In Clute, Texas, Megan Lopez, RT.